That is legit. You know what? We're going to start with that, man. What's up? Welcome back to the On God's Time podcast. I am super delighted. I'll say that word, yeah. We got to use a new word. Usually I say I'm super excited. I'm delighted to have my brother, Spencer Cowgill, on the podcast. Spencer grew up going to a Christian school in Texas. Am I wrong?
No, that's right, man. Texas.
Right. And he is currently an area rep for Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He is my dog. I met him at FCA camp. It's kind of funny. Eli Livingston, one of my best friends, was like, dude, you got to meet you got to meet my girlfriend's sister's fiance. Like, he's going to be at FCA camp. And I was like, whatever. He's a pretty cool dude. And then, dude, we ended up in the same cabin and we just connected so much, and it's just been a really cool friendship. So, Spencer, talk to me. Tell me who you are, man.
Bro, yeah, that's right. I am from Texarkana on the Texas side, and 23 area rep, like Caleb said. And I'm a rep in South Central Arkansas, so that's in like the Hot Springs area. We work with Arkadelphia, Malvern, all those small cities and schools and that. But yeah, dude, I am fresh off of FCA camp, and that's where I met Caleb, like he said, and we just clicked. I mean, praise God for a new friendship, man. We have like interest, man. We love to play golf, and we love to dive in the Word and just spread encouragement to everybody and anybody. So yeah, bro.
We love a good game of golf, dude. We've probably played golf together. What, three or four times since camp
Already? Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. So we met at FCA camp, and man, I think God knew I needed Spencer's friendship because it's weird. Like, you're 2 years older than me. Like, when we're together, I feel like it's less like discipleship and more like fellowship. Like, just more like, dude, we just need encouragement sometimes, man. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much I needed somebody to just, look at me sometimes and just be like, hey, bro, can I pray with you? Hey, man, can I, what's going on in your life? And we've been able to be that for each other, so it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, and speak on that too, man. Like, it's a blessing to have a friend that is like, walking the same walk with you, because yeah, like God calls you to reach the lost, but man, when you're doing this fight with another believer and a young believer too, I mean, we're in the same age group, and man, we do the same kind of stuff. You're in college right now, just got out of college. We know what this walk is supposed to look like. So man, it is a blessing to have a friend like you for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's probably the best piece of advice I could give anyone at this age. Like, I just turned 22, and did you just turn 23?
Yep.
Yeah. So for me, I'm just like, dude, like, when you're in this age of life, like, build your community now. Like, find your people, build your community, find your accountability partners, find your people who are going to set you up to have a good godly life and who are going to help you in your walk, and who are going to, maybe pick you up whenever you feel like you can't walk. I mean,
Right.
man. So, man, that's huge. But Spencer, I got to ask you, man. I got to ask you the question of all questions, the question of the podcast, why it's called the On God's Time podcast. When did you decide to stop living on your time and start living on God's time, and why?
Yeah, man. I love this question because I've watched this podcast before, many episodes, and I've seen people's answers, and I love seeing like the switch from living on your time to God's time. So my story, this is kind of a notion to a testimony, right? This question kind of really like give me your testimony. Like, when did God change your life? So
Yeah.
at 8 years old, I was old enough to know that I needed salvation, that God gave me salvation through His Son Jesus, and I was ready to accept that. But at that point, like, I didn't know exactly what Christianity was supposed to look like. I knew that I was a sinner. I knew that Jesus died on the cross for me, but beyond that, I was really kind of in the dark on what I was supposed to be doing at that point, because I was young. I mean, I knew who Jesus was, but I didn't really know exactly how I was supposed to walk the walk and talk the talk and live out that faith, right? And so, growing up in church, growing up in a Christian school, I was blessed to be able to have the Bible constantly shared with me, constantly poured into me, and people were mentoring me and showing me what it looked like to be a Christian. And, as you grow up into your early teenage years and your later teenage years, you start to figure out a little bit more about this world and the
Mm.
darkness that it presents to young people like you and I. And man, I started to really struggle with walking in the light because my flesh wanted to be in the darkness, right? And
Yeah.
so I was living on my time really up until 2019, whenever I went to Pine Cove Christian Camps. I was a counselor there, just like pretty much like FBA camp. We're huddle leaders, counselors, are the same thing. And it was at that camp that I realized, man, that this life is one that I can do on my own, and I've got to have God leading me and directing me, because at the end of the day, I was at that camp for 6 weeks, man, and I realized that everything that I was doing was because of Him. The gifts that I have are from God. The talent I have is from God. The blessings that I have are from God. So, what I'm doing for other people in my Christian walk, encouraging them, loving on them, is really, that's what I'm called to do. I'm called to love God and love others, right? And so, at that camp, it really hit me like, dude, you are not here to serve yourself. You're here to serve God. So that's when I chose to start living fully on God's time. God, whatever you want, your will be done, not mine. And then from then on, bro, it's been a roller coaster of events, but I'm with the best captain ever. I mean, God is driving my ship, and I couldn't be more blessed to have him taking the wheel instead of me.
Dude, I love that so much. You got the best captain in the world. You do have the best captain in the world.
Right.
And something you said that at the Colorado FCA camp, they talked about there was a woman who was leading it. I think her name was Katie. Gosh, if she's listening, I hope that hope I got that right. But she said that like you said, like she really believed when she was like 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever, however old she was, that she really does believe that she accepted the Lord, she received salvation. And that's the same for me. When I was 9 years old, I went to an FCA camp. Todd Baumgartner was my huddle leader. I really believe at that FCA camp I gave my life to Jesus. But she said something that I love and that stuck out to me so much. She said, I don't believe that I submitted to God's lordship until I was 18 or 19 or however old she was. For me, bro, I really don't believe I submitted to his lordship until I was 19 years old.
Yep.
Like really. And like you said, you had an experience where you went to, is it Pine Cove? Is that what you
Yeah.
said?
Pine Cove.
Yeah. So for me, I went to 747 in Jonesboro, Central Baptist Church there. And I didn't realize until I got there, like, man, I've not given the Lord my everything. I'm not, like, I literally, man, I probably opened my Bible once a month. Like, I was never in my word. My prayers were just like, hey, God, can you give me what I want? like it was never and it was like, yeah, like I want to glorify God, woohoo, but like I didn't understand the seriousness of it, the seriousness of the gospel and telling people about Jesus. And so yeah, dude, when I was 19, that's when I believe I submitted to his lordship. And yeah, I think I can relate to you on that, brother, man.
Yeah, bro.
um but I kind of want to dive into, you and I think we're pretty big on like habits and lifestyle and things like that. So I want to ask you, I guess since you've really submitted to his lordship, if you have a better term or a cooler term, you can put it out there. But since you've done that, what are some habits that you've built and some things that some consistencies that you've gotten, I'd say, that have helped you continue to grow in your walk with Jesus?
Dude, great question, bro. That's a awesome question. I'm going to give you three, because these are three primary habits that I've established, and they've
Mm-hmm.
grown in my walk with Jesus at a significant level. But one is the basic one, but it's really the most important, and that's praying and reading my Bible every day. And
Mm-hmm.
for me personally, everybody does everything different. So I read mine in the morning. I like to start my day in the Word, because if I end my day in the Word, I've spent that whole day without really diving in, seeing what God for me. And so that's not wrong, but it's just not my preference. I like to start my day off,
Mm-hmm.
get it the first thing out of the way, and get going with Scripture and with prayer. Um, man, the second thing is being intentional with encouraging others, because, dude, as Christians, like, that's what we're called to do. And if you're intentional about going into town, man, if you're to the gym to throw some shots up, if you're going to lift, or you're going to Walmart to get your groceries or whatever, man, just be intentional on seeing how can I help this person? What is this person struggling with? Man, they look sad. Can I go talk to them and just shed some light into their life? So that's another habit I've
Love that.
attained. The third one would be reminding myself of my purpose, right? Because you
Mm,
and I both have a purpose. Yours is different from mine, but it's also similar in a way because we're both Christians. So we have a
yeah.
purpose to serve God, and that looks different through many aspects, really. Serving God is an abundance of different avenues. But my main thing with focusing on my purpose and what I would tell young people is, dude, get in scripture, realize exactly what the Christian is called to do, and start to do those things, and then you're going to start to find your purpose. That is your purpose, to walk the walk, talk the talk, and look like Jesus, right? And so those are my three basic habits that I've established and I continue to do every day, and they've helped me grow closer to God.
Dude, I love that so much. That is awesome. And I've actually really picked up on that from you on the second one about encouraging people. I've actually like I don't know if I've really gotten to tell you this, but like I know I've noticed that in your everyday life, like being around you, playing golf and like at FCA camp. Like I've noticed that about you. Man, it'd be just random, but like you will literally like go up to people and you'll just be like you could almost like recognize whenever they're not having a good day, and you'll go up to them and be like, hey man, like what's up, man? How are you? Are you all right? What's been going on in your life, man? Everything okay at home? And I actually started like picking up on your positivity and seeing that, and that's something I've made an effort to implement into my life. Like I was actually playing golf with a buddy recently, and dude, he was just like he was just having a terrible day. Like he was going through some stuff personally, and he wasn't hitting the ball well. And that that's always going to be frustrating if you're playing golf because it's one of those sports that usually I'd say most people need to play calm to play good,
Right.
and so, but he was having a bad day. He wasn't doing well, and I just remember intentionally thinking in my mind, like I remember when I was playing golf with you. I just remember you never one time said, "Hey, dude, you're just not a very good golfer. You suck." Like you never did anything like that. Like you were just like, "Hey, man, like maybe try turning your foot a little more. Do you see where you were pointing, dude? That was a great hit. Like that was so much better than the last one. Like you're just encouraging." And I remember I started doing that. I was just like, "Hey, dude, you're all right. Look at that, man. You're in the fairway. There you go." And I probably did about 4 or 5 of them. And he just looked at me and he was like, "Dude, why are you so positive? Like in a good way."
Yeah.
And I was just like, and I honestly said, I was like, "Dude, I legitimately, I was like, man, I've been around my friend Spencer lately. I've kind of picked up on it from him, and honestly, I'm happier because of it." So
Man, that means the world to me, bro.
yeah, yeah. So what and how would you say like what's a way like why do you view things like that? Like why are you like, man, I gotta encourage people? Besides obviously, yeah, it's our purpose, but like what brings you fulfillment about doing that?
Well, dude, I think that, encouraging people brings me fulfillment, really. First of all, because I know I'm supposed to do that, as because I want to make God proud. I want to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant.
Mm,
And so, but the Bible, that the second part is, it brings so much joy whenever you can take somebody's world gloomy and sad and make it a happy place. Dude, if somebody's having a bad day on the course, like you said, and you're constantly being positive and being encouraging to them, and you see them go from frowning to smiling, it's like, man, that it's a fulfilling. It's so fulfilling, and what happens, you start to get joyful, and they can feed off of your joy, and then like, man, it's kind of a cycle. You give them
mm.
joy, they give somebody else joy, and then it starts to have a ripple effect. And so that's what I love about it, the repercussions of what you do, and you can like discipleship, man. What Todd was telling us, like, bro, you pick out your five, don't pick out your
Mm.
five, and let them take their five, and let them take their five, and it's just a ripple effect.
Dude, I love that so much, and I especially like in basketball terms, I've definitely thought about that lately. Like you know, you have one person. Even there was even times I'd say when I was younger where I did start making the transition, trying to be more positive on the court, and like not being so trash talky and stuff like that. And I actually I had some people like laugh at me like not in a bad way, but just like, yo, like what is he doing? Because it's not common to be like that, you know. And man, I've had so many moments where I've been able to. I've had so many moments where in the basketball community, I've, you know, like you said, like just being able to encourage people to be there for them. Like I've had opportunities even to share the gospel, and I've meant to share this story, and I want to share it real quick just because I think it's kind of relevant. Um, I want to share this on the podcast. You know, I was working Austin's camp, Austin and Spencer's basketball camp. You know, Austin plays for the Lakers. He's, you know, pretty good, I guess. But anyways, I was working his camp, and dude, I remember thinking to myself, like, whenever I was doing something, like, you know, Spencer told me, you know, he's like, I want you to be the energy guy, like, you know, get the kids hyped up, you know, get them clapping, get them doing this and doing that. And I realized two things. I was like, number one, it is so insane how it just takes one person and one choice to make a ripple effect. It's crazy. You're in a church service, the first part, like, you know, like you're listening to a worship song and people say, yeah, you can stand up if you want, or you can sit down. It takes one person standing up, and then everyone else stands up. You know, pastor says something good. It takes one person clapping, then everyone else claps. And at camp, I noticed that, dude. Like, I would start going, ah, or whatever, and all the kids would go, ah, like, and they would, you know, do it back. And it's just so crazy how, dude, like, as men of God, you know, obviously it's not us, it's the Lord working through us, but it's like, dude, we make one good decision. We make one, we create one new good habit. We decide to encourage one person, and it's like a ripple effect, dude. It just
Yeah, bro.
it goes everywhere.
That's right. Yeah, that's spot on, man. That's a good word.
Yeah. And I do want to tell a second story. There was a little boy at the camp, and I think I don't remember. Have I told you about me writing the Bible verse on the shirt or not?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so this is new for you too. So I was at the Reeves Brothers basketball camp, and man, there were just a million kids. Like there was like 200 kids per camp, and we did 3 camps. And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, dude, there's no way that I can work a camp like this and not talk about Jesus in some way. It's like I don't know how, but I've got to do it somehow. And so you know, they started going up to all the coaches, and they wanted their autograph, which I don't know why they wanted my autograph, but they wanted my autograph. And so they came up to me and they were like, Coach Caleb, can you sign my shirt? Can you sign my shirt? And this little boy, he's probably 7 or 8 years old, came up to me and he was like, hey, Coach Caleb, can you sign my shirt? And I was like, yeah. I was like, hey. And then I was like, hey, is it okay if I write a Bible verse on it? And he was like, yeah, sure, why not? And so I wrote it. And then another kid later, I was like, hey, is it okay if I write a Bible verse? And then after a while, all of them said yes. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to write it. I'm not going to ask. And so I started like signing my name, and this little kid came up to me, and he, like the same one, and he was like, hey, what is this that you wrote on my shirt? It's like, it's a Bible verse. It says Romans 10:9. And then he said, oh, well, what does it say? I was like, well, it says Romans 10:9, and it says, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. And he said, okay, well, what does that mean? And I was like, oh, yeah, I get to talk about Jesus. And then I said, well, it means that if you accept Jesus into your heart, then you get to go to heaven one day. And it was so funny. He just looked at me and went, but I've already done that. And I was like, well, I guess I'll see you in heaven one day, buddy. And he was like, cool. And then ran away. And it was so funny, but it was also like, it was such a cool moment. Like, you know, I had other kids come up to me and ask me, hey, what did you write? And I got to talk to them about it. And I had some parents coming up to me and just saying like, hey, you know, who are you? Like, what do you do? Like, you know, and this and that. And then it's like they pulled up my Facebook page and they were just like, oh, like, this is so cool. Like, you know, maybe now my kids can listen to your podcast and things like that. And it was just like, dude, it was just such a cool experience, like being able to encourage those kids, because the reality is that some of those kids, like, while they may go to church and stuff, you know, you never know if it's a situation where like they may go to church, like, you know, just on Easter or something like that. You know what I mean? Like they don't actually like like they may get poured into a little bit, but not by someone who they're around what they love all the time.
Yeah,
And so yeah, dude, it was a cool experience being able to do
man,
that.
that's awesome, bro.
So
I'm hearing about that.
yeah, just being able to use basketball to talk about Jesus is like my favorite thing
And
in the
that's,
world.
dude, that's what we talked about earlier in the podcast, right? Like, man, what is Caleb's purpose? What are your gifts? Well, dude, you're a baller, so you're using basketball to bring glory to God, and that's exactly what He wants you to do, man.
I don't consider myself a baller,
I
but
think
you
play,
know,
play. We'll call up Austin Reeves, and he'll give you some accolades real quick.
oh my gosh, I love that. But let's kind of switch it up a little, man. Let's talk. Let's talk the dating world just for a second. Because you have got, um, I'd say, you've got a really cool story, and I'd say you're gifted in like how you treat women. And what I mean by that is like you're very intentional with how you treat Abby, your fiance, and you're just very good with treating her the right way and treating her like the way God would want her to. And so I want you to tell me the story of how you met, and it's wild. I've heard it a couple. I've heard it many times now. But dude, I want you to talk about it and you pursuing her and the wildness of it
Yeah,
too,
man.
and how it all came back together and worked out for your
For
good.
sure, for sure. Well, you and I both know this story could be the length of a novel, right? And so
Yeah.
I'll try to keep it kind of summarized. But man, we both know that one of God's best creations is women, right? We love our godly women, and each of us as a man, what we've talked about, dude. We know that it's a quest, it's a journey to pursue a woman and to find the right woman.
Mhm.
And so, man, what I was doing, this was back in 2020, I believe. But I went to UCA, University of Central Arkansas, right? And I was in a fraternity called Bucks, which stood for Beta Upsilon Chi. So it was BYX in Greek letters. And one of the members was Garrett Inman, which is Abby's brother. And as I began to build a friendship with him, I found out about Abby and her twin Ashton, right? And so at the time, Abby had a boyfriend. She was dating somebody. I didn't know. So I went ahead and slid in the DMs, and I hit her with the classic "Hey." I kept it really short and sweet, and for about 9 months, she didn't ever respond. She wasn't even following me at the time, and so just kind of forgot that I even did that. And come to find out, like, she started following me. She had broken up with this guy, and she finally saw my DM, right? And at this time, she had like broken her leg from soccer. She was in a game and fractured her leg, and so she was out for the whole season. And I messaged her again on Instagram, and I said, hey, like, what happened? Trying to figure out what was going on with the injury, just trying to build conversation. And we talked for a little bit. I got her phone number. I went to one of her games. She wasn't even playing. She was on crutches and in a boot. And I just wanted to introduce myself. I knew what her family structure was like. I knew that Garrett was a godly guy. And I figured that she might be a godly woman as well. It takes conversation, it takes time together to figure that out. And so that's what I wanted to get to. I wanted to be able to hang out a little bit. I already thought that she was beautiful. She had that box checked off way before I even met her. And so um, after that, we went on one date. I don't even know if you can call it a date. We hung out. I went to her house, and we got some ice cream after that. And then I took her to get some dinner one more time in Arkadelphia. And after that, man, it was straight ghost mode for about a week. I didn't hear from her. And I was like, what is going on? I thought I was doing this right, and I thought that we were kind of clicking. Well, I call her and I finally ask her. I say, "Hey, I haven't heard from you. Like, what's going on? Is something up? Did I do something wrong?" And she said, "Hey, you didn't do anything wrong. I'm not ready for a relationship yet. I don't really know where this is going. I just need to have some time for myself." Right? We've all, yeah,
No, I'm just
boo.
kidding.
And man, I remember, like, in that moment after that phone call, just praying and telling God, like, if it's meant to be, it's going to be. And there's that song by Florida Georgia Line, if it's meant to be, it's going to be. And that was in my head. And even though that's not a spiritual song, that still has some spiritual truth behind it, right? And so
Yeah.
there was, you know, this, there was 4 months, man, where there was nothing but happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, any excuse for me to text her, I'm doing it. And so holidays rolling around, I would text her, I'd get kind of a short response. And this is nothing against her. I mean, I'm about to marry this woman, so there's no bad talk coming from my end.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
man, it finally, what happened was, to kind of sum it up, you know, it was 4 months of us not talking at all. I was really wanting to pursue this woman. There was other women that were coming into my life, and opportunities were becoming an objective to where I could say, okay, maybe I could date this woman or whatever. But the thing was that she would be head and shoulders above all these other girls. It's like, man, I don't want anybody else but Abby. I just wanted to keep on pursuing her until the door closed, right? Until she said, hey, I need you to stop talking to me, or if God said, hey, this is not the one. But I never got that. So I kept on pursuing, not in an annoying way, but just in a kind of in a subtle way, just a text here, a text there. And the day
Yeah.
before Valentine's Day of that next year, I dropped some flowers off at her dorm. And for some odd reason, that was the thing that kind of took us to where we are now. She finally was like, maybe this is a guy worthy of a chance. And so she gave me a chance. What was cool, though, is the night before I dropped off those flowers, we hadn't talked for 4 months, like I said, and she texted me out of the blue and asked me for a picture that we took together 4 months ago on that one date we went to in Arkadelphia. And so it was kind of cool to see how God was tying this all together. He kind of put my name in her heart. She asked for the picture, and then I was already planning on taking flowers, but I was just kind of hesitant. Didn't know if it would be too much or if I needed to do it anyways. Should I give up on pursuing her? But man, what I would encourage you and anybody else with is, if the door is still open, pursue and pursue, and just seek God on who He wants for you, because obviously this is somebody who He had for me, and we're about to get married here in 5 months. Yeah,
Woo.
man, praise the Lord for that. And so it took persistence, and I didn't want to give up because I knew there was something special about her. And man, you'll find a woman whenever you know that she loves God more than she loves you. And if she doesn't, she's not the one. She's got to love someone more than you, and that's God for sure. But man, that's the story of me and Abby, and been loving each other ever since, brother.
Dude, that is awesome. That is, you could write a dang book
I
about
could,
that,
I could.
honestly.
There's a lot more that,
Like, that is
yeah,
awesome.
for sure.
Do
I
I?
said there's a lot more that I left out, but that's just the gist of that story.
Yes, no, for sure. I just like, it's so funny because like, there's been a couple times where I've kind of told that story, like your story, like I've just told it to different friends and stuff, and dude, they've just been like, that man was persistent, like that man, he did not give up, and dude, I don't know, man, I think about that a lot about how like obviously our love is not nearly the same as God's
Right.
love. It's not even close, but dude, like the Lord is just constantly like pursuing us, and He's constantly like, dude, I just want your time, I want your attention, I'm a jealous God, I want your life, honestly, and I just think it's cool. Like I think I've never heard a story like y'all's. Like that's why I love hearing it so much. Like I've never heard. I mean, I've heard some, but it was just like yours is just different, dude. Because I'm kind of like similar to you in the sense of like if something's on my heart, dude, until I see a no, like I'm going for it,
Right.
and and I'm not stopping. So I love that, dude. What are some things that you would say that you've been intentional about with her? I'd say in order to honor her, not just like from I mean, not even just talking about like purity or anything, but like praying for her, or do you guys read the word together? Are you waiting on that? Like stuff like that.
Yeah, man. We in the first few months of dating, we weren't praying together and really getting a lot of time in the Word together, like side by side,
Mm,
physically in person, just because we're still trying to grow in our relationship, and of course, the more time you spend with somebody, the more you're going to get to know them, right? And so I didn't really know her that well
mm,
the first few months of us dating. I'm still trying to get to know her. And just from me growing up, I've been told and recommended that spending time together in prayer is very intimate. And I know that.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask because like some people have different opinions on that. I don't really necessarily have one because I don't know. It's been a while since I've dated, so I don't really know.
Yeah,
But
yeah. And so that's what I was getting to is just spending that time in prayer is something that you need to make sure that you are not. You don't want your physical distractions, or you don't want your physical um, connections to be a distraction, right? You want to be able to connect with God spiritually and leave physical distractions at the door. And so, if you're pretty fresh in a relationship, it might be challenging to do so. But yeah, man, but now I love praying with her, getting her day started with prayer. She prays for me as well, which is a huge blessing. And reading the scripture together is something we do every now and then. I personally like to have quiet time in a quiet place. I want it to be a time with God. But yeah, man, we love to be together.
that's awesome, dude. And I'm the same way. I like to have my quiet time by myself. My favorite thing in the world to do is drink some coffee and read my Bible. That's like my favorite thing in the world to
Spot
do.
on.
Like, yeah. So, but dude, um, I love talking about girls. Obviously, I love, and especially like how to honor them because they deserve our best, and they deserve, for us to pursue them intentionally. But now, I want to ask you, we talked a little bit about like you going the FCA route. Like, obviously, you and me are both pretty tight with FCA. Well, I mean, you're going to work for them now, but my mom already works for them. I'm about to begin leading FCA at my college. So, I'm excited about that. But dude, tell me like what it is that got you into FCA. Like what made you realize you wanted to do this occupationally, I guess you'd
Right.
say, and like make a career out of this. Like what? How did God make it obvious to you that you were going to do
Right.
that?
Dude, that's a great question because lots of people have asked me before, like, what made you choose FCA? Yeah, and it really wasn't why did you choose FCA. Like, God chose me. He put this in my path, and He opened the door for me. Coming out of college last December, I was looking for a totally different job. Like, I love sports, I love exercise, I love understanding the body, and so I wanted to do something along the physical therapy route. Maybe open up my own gym, training facility. And FCA was not a thought at all, really. And I was looking for so many jobs. And what happened was a few months after college, I had a few interviews lined up, and I thought I was going to get a job and get my career going and get myself grounded with some kind of job. And these interviews were great, but nothing was happening. Like they would say, "Oh, well, we like you, but whoever you were going to take the spot of is not leaving, or whatever." Or yeah, we don't have anything open right now, but maybe here in a few months or whatever. And so nothing was really coming to fruition, right? And so I started to get worrisome and figure out, or I was trying to figure out like where God wanted me, and I just didn't feel any direction. And there was one night, skip a few weeks, there was one night where I was looking for jobs, and FCA presented itself, came to the forefront of my head, and I was like, man, maybe this might be somewhere that I could work. And sure enough, man, it turned out to where there was an opening in Hot Springs. And I was told before I ever joined that you've got to really know if you're called to full time ministry because it's not
Yeah,
a job for somebody to hop into. Your mom's in it; she's doing it too.
sure.
And man, the morning of my first interview with my boss, Micah May, we both know him.
Mm,
Um, I was praying. I was like, God, I need to know that this is where you want me because this is a big step of faith. This is a full time ministry position. I'm like a FCA missionary, and there's different kind of regimes and quotas that go with being an employee for FCA. Is different things that we have to go through, trainings, and we've got to do different things. And so anyways, I was in my devotional that morning and just really praying for an understanding of God's will, right? And I opened the page and the title literally said Understanding God's Will.
mm,
And it was talking about how you may not know like where you need to be this day, how you may not know what job you're supposed to take and where you're supposed to live. But if you're loving God and loving others, you're going to be in His will and whatever path He's got you on, that's where he wants you. And so I got a comfort. I felt comfortable about FCA. And after talking with Micah that day and hearing more about what it looks like to be inside of FCA, I said, man, this is where I need to be. Like Jesus and sports, you put those together. I'm game on. I love Jesus. I love sports. This is the job for me, and I can't wait to see what this looks like in the school year come next month.
Dude, I love that so much. That is awesome, and you are definitely called to that because you can see it, man. Just the way you encourage people and the way you know the word, and that's a big thing too. Like, dude, I mean, I would say right now my ministry is the game of basketball. Like,
Yeah,
and being in the basketball community, playing, and being able to talk to people, minister to people through that, and man, I would say the biggest quality, like maybe not the biggest, like a big quality that I believe you need to have if you are going to do ministry is like you've got to know the word and you've got to saturate it in your heart, and it's very obvious that you're doing that. So,
yeah, man.
um,
I appreciate that, bro. It's so important to do that too. And you, like you just said, man, you've got to know it because if you've got to share the word with somebody and you don't know it, that's going to be a hard task for you to do.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like this morning. Let me grab this bad boy. Like this morning, I was reading, and man, I read this, and it stuck out to me so much. It's Isaiah 48, not 48, but 40 dot dot 8. The grass withers and the flowers fade, but the word of our God stands forever. And man, that hit me so hard. I just began to realize, man, everything in this world, materials, possessions, status, money, like all of it is going to fade away, but the word of God stands forever. And like, man, it's like, why are we not going to invest in what's going to be eternal? So,
That's truth, man. That's so true. You're right.
yeah.
That's what this earth is for, man. It's so temporary, but we have a purpose to live out. And you're right. The grass withers, flowers fade, but man, His love endures forever. Got to tell more people about that.
Yeah, for sure. Spencer, brother, it has been fun having you on the pod. This is just a very small glimpse of like what our conversations are like each day. like, and man, I'm just happy that you were able to come on and encourage the people listening, and I know that someone's going to be impacted by the episode. So,
Dude, I appreciate you having me on. This is a blessing to be on the On God's Time podcast. Like I said before, man, I've watched several episodes of this and I've been looking forward to this, man. And so I'm super thankful that we got to do this today, bro.
me too, man. Me too. Well, all right, brother. I will see you later, and we will be putting this out for people to see.
Awesome, bro. That sounds great, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, see you.
All right, bud.
Rah! All right.
Per-
Beautiful.
Beautiful.